படமா பாருங்க, படமா பாருங்க. நம்ம என்னைக்குமே படமா பார்த்ததே இல்லை. Women have always been especially when they come from privileged backgrounds and privileged castes, they've also been protectors and enablers of patriarchy and the caste system. The audience need to be more discerning and they have to stop supporting these films. I want Maadathy to be mainstream. If you get someone to watch Maadathy right now, they might probably be shocked at the male nudity, but they might be like completely okay with female objectifying. While you enjoy Shilpa, like Super Deluxe, while you enjoy Shilpa, just keep in mind that that should have had a trans actor in. That's something that I always keep in mind. Who are you? Are you laughing with them or are you laughing at them?
One period that we didn't talk a whole lot about was the 90s, right? To some extent. What we didn't talk about the 90s was that it was not just the phase which became macho, hero-centric, right? But it was also the phase where caste pride was like upheld in glorious manner, right? And that was done through the men, right? We have this rather unique case where I want to reference Mohan G, right? Our we have this curious case of caste pride being upheld by fierce independent women, right? At one level, the women is like strong, independent. At a level that is so disturbing because what she stands for, what she chooses to uphold is, right? So she'll fit into what you mentioned as building a parameter in solala, that she has some sense of agency, right? What does she stand for? That's an extremely problematic thing, right? And this is only going to increase, I'm sure, right? Because his movies have resonated very well with a certain section of the population. Probably this is the first decade when we've really come across the term intersectionality in broader discourse, right? Rather than it being restricted to just a few circles. They see intersectionality in a certain weird manner. So how do you see this going forward?
It only makes it necessary. It only is an example of why intersectionality is so important. It is not it is not right to see things in isolation. And it is not right to it is not enough to see, understand and criticize things in isolation. இப்போ ஒரு பொண்ணு வெறும் இண்டிபெண்டா இருந்தா போதுமா அப்படிங்கிறது there comes the question, because that's never been the case. Like women have always been especially when they come from privileged backgrounds and privileged castes, they've also been protectors and enablers of patriarchy and the caste system. They've also been part of the oppressing community. So avangala nama complete absolve panna poroma kadiyadu. And also the kind of struggles that a woman from the oppressed community faces to vis-a-vis the kind of struggle that a woman from a privileged community faces is completely different. ஸோ அதை நீங்க புரிஞ்சுக்கணும்னா நீங்க தனியா அவங்களோட பேட்ரியார்கல் ஸ்ட்ரகிள்ஸை மட்டும் பார்க்கறது போதாது. There's a need to see both. ஏன்னா காஸ்டே again this is what Ambedkar says, காஸ்ட் ஸ்ட்ரக்சரோட கோர்ல யார் இருக்கான்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா it restricts the woman. It places so many restrictions on the woman's sexuality and her freedom and her agency. That's how the caste system thrives, right? இது சோன்சிடியால ஒரு டயலாக் வரும். It's like
I'm sorry, which one?
There's a film called Sonchidia. It had Sushant Singh Rajput, Hindi padam. So there's this one beautiful dialogue where two women are talking and they're talking about the caste hierarchy. And one woman says, "Appo, where are the women?" She says, "Ellathukku kizha dhaan women." It's like, so just imagine, it's like அந்த எல்லாத்துக்கும் கீழே விமன் இருக்காங்க. அதுலயும் அவங்க இருக்கிறவங்க அப்படியே சொல்லி they like even இது. So they face double the ostracization. They face everything into two. That is something that you cannot split, which is why intersectionality is so important, like very very important. In fact, when I wrote about Udra Tandavam, it was necessary to know, to write about how the film portrays a good woman to be, how the film wants the good woman to be, even though she is oppressed within her own, So there's an inherent connection between the two. Adha nama split panna mudiyadhu. How do I see it going forward? I think the audience need to be more discerning. They need to understand intersectionality more, and they have to stop supporting these films. I know it's a far-fetched claim, but
the YouTube this is going to start the video.
See, it's like saying at the end of the day, cinema வந்து ஒரு business. Okay, அந்த படம் காசு பண்ணலன்னா அவங்க அதே மாதிரி படத்தை திருப்பி பண்ண மாட்டாங்க. அப்ப அது காசு பண்ற வரைக்கும் அதை திருப்பி பண்றதுக்கு யாராவது இருப்பாங்க. இன்னைக்கு it might be Mohan G, it might be someone else, but as long as those kind of films keep making money, there will be someone to do it again. So the only way for that to be stopped is to for those films to not make money, which means people should not see them, right? For people, then so should people not see them now? But they should get the clarity of why these films are doing it, or why exactly.
What is problematic about the movie itself?
Exactly. So ஏன் இதை வந்து ஹேட் பரவது அப்படின்னு பரவ வைக்கிறாங்க அப்படிங்கறத நம்ம யோசிக்கணும். So அதுக்கு என்ன பண்ணணும்? அதுக்கு நம்ம நிறைய கான்வர்சேஷன்ஸ் மறுபடியும் the kind of awareness that needs to go right deep into our basic ground social fabric. Avlo irukku. It's not just a film. It's the kind of conversation that it creates, the kind of image that it gives to people keep saying படத்தை படமா பாருங்க. நம்ம என்னைக்குமே படத்தை படமா பார்த்ததே இல்லை. நம்மளோட எஸ்பெஷலி தமிழ்நாடுல if you take the history, at so many times, at so many different periods, we've always reflected the political change, socio-political change that the society was going through in our films. It was always back and forth, right? ஒரு பாயிண்ட்ல நேஷனலிஸ்ட் இது போயிட்டு இருந்துச்சா, பக்தி மூவ்மெண்ட் போயிட்டு இருந்துச்சு, நம்ம படங்கள் அது தெரிஞ்சது. Dravidianism like when it was at its peak, you could see that in those films. So there was always this exchange going on. So I think இதுவும் வந்து அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு எக்ஸ்சேஞ்சா தான் இருக்கும். Like people like after say ஒரு 40 years அப்புறம் வந்து if they see those films, they will understand and probably recognize the struggle that we are going through right now as a society, and the kind of conversations that we need to have and we should be having, and we hopefully will be having.
Probably the one person who stands for intersection in a sense is probably Leena Manimekalai. So when you take a movie like Maadathy, right, which was not just probably among the best movies that came on OTT last year, but also what it stood for. When do you think something like that will become mainstream? And she is the future, right? In a sense, it's like looking at, gender, sexuality, caste. Very few Tamil movies have shown female desire in that manner, right? It's very, very striking. எனக்கு எப்படி வந்து ருத்ரையாவோட அவள் அப்படித்தான் அப்படி இருந்ததோ, அந்த விதத்துல வந்து மாடத்தி பார்க்கும்போது ஒரு இடத்துல வந்து that's really what stood out for me, right? Is this really the moment that changes Tamil cinema?
I want Maadathy to be mainstream. Trust me. I want it. I am desperate for Maadathy to be mainstream. ஆனா அது எப்போ ஆகும்னு எனக்கு தெரியல, to be very honest. If you get someone to watch Maadathy right now, they might probably be shocked at the male nudity, but they might be like completely okay with female objectifying and female and the kind of lens that Leena has taken in that film is beautiful. The kind of this woman, this girl faces desire, but is because of the patriarchy and the caste structure that she's part in, she's not even allowed to, and the desire recognize or acknowledge பண்ணவே முடியாது. And it also at the end of the day becomes அவ தலையிலே அது ஒரு இடியா வந்து விழுது. It's a betrayal, right? It's like இட்ஸ் லைக் சேயிங் நம்ம ரொம்ப நாளா வந்து பார்த்து ரசிச்ச ஒண்ணு கடைசியில ஒரு 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 டீமனா இருக்கு, ஒரு 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 அசுரனா இருக்கு அப்படின்னு யோசிக்கிறப்போ the kind of emotion we're talking about. It's not just female desire. It's female desire in a place where you're not allowed to desire. You don't have the right, or we will not acknowledge your right to desire. And that is the kind of multi-plural conversations that we should be having. எப்போ நடக்கும்னு எனக்கு தெரியல, to be honest தெரியல. But if it becomes mainstream, I'll be the first one who's extremely happy.
So while we are on Leena, not sure whether you had a chance to watch her other, right? It's the documentary that she had made, which is right now
no,
on
unfortunately
movie.
not.
Is it too much to ask?
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it. But recently they've started their showcase on Leena, so I will definitely be watching it, and I'm really looking forward to it.
This is for those who might not know about this movie, but yeah, like movie is hosting Leena's documentary called "Is It Too Much to Ask?" Which basically shows the struggle of two trans women looking to rent a house in Chennai. It is mind-blowing, enlightening in all ways possible. It's a lovely little 30-minute movie, so must watch. Highly recommend that. While I'm here, I have to give a shout out, right, to both Smiley and Gladdy, who I've had the privilege to meet both of them and interact with them. So yeah, so this is a big hi to Smiley and Gladdy if ever you watch this video. I mean, yeah, so we've had a lot of discussions. I mean, all the discussions have largely been along the subject of like cis women, right? Whereas yeah, so Tamil cinema on the கடைசி ரெண்டு மூணு வருஷத்துல வந்து has shown a surprising inclination, right? It would feature trans women characters, but then but it's been a mixed bag, to put it mildly, I would say, right? Even the most celebrated characters have lots of problems and right? So how do you see this? How do you see this development? I mean, in this age of intersectionality.
We have a long way to go, to be honest, in terms of LGBTQ plus representation, and especially in terms of trans, people, அவங்களோட representation பத்தி யோசிக்கும் போது, what is very sad is that even like a super deluxe Shilpa was played by a man. It was not played by a trans person. While we could have Perangu, where an actual trans woman could play her role. This is a debate that's been there around for a very long time. And it's also one that was recently in news for Chandigarh, Kare, Aashiqui, the Ayushman film. See, the thing is, as I said earlier, ethics versus economics தான் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா எப்பவுமே எக்கனாமிக்ஸ் தான் ஜெயிக்கும். இப்போ நீங்க வந்து I've actually asked Vijay Sethupathi about the debate when Super Deluxe came out.
Okay.
And he was like, he simply asked me one question. My name is now popular. Like, people will watch this film. If I actually cast someone who who people don't know, will they still watch this film? Will they go? Will the story reach people? Will this character struggle reach people? I think that is one part of it. Even before it reaches people, it needs to get made, which means someone has to put money into it. So which means that how many people are ready to fund projects with actors who are not popular yet, right? So it's more a practical question than an ideal question. Ideally, yes, trans people should be it's like saying, you are not giving us normal characters. You're not letting us normal in the sense something that does go beyond their identity, their gender and sexual identity. You don't give characters like that. And even the characters that are tailor-made for us, you're robbing those from us as well. That's like it is incredibly sad. But what is the practical way out of it? That is something that we need to keep in mind. Like, so why I brought up Chandigarh, Kare, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right. That film was because one of the
Chandigarh Kare Aashiqui.
yes, thank you.
Yes, yes.
So I think it was Ghazal Dhaliwal, if I'm right. She's a trans writer who's written for Bollywood films. Her post about the film was made a lot of sense to me. She talks about how the film was just the starting point. Like it doesn't go like super high or super beyond into talking about trans problems or in terms of representation. Should a trans actor have played that role? Absolutely yes. But right now, all I want or all I'm rooting for is for more trans stories on screen, more queer stories on screen. So I am sort of conflicted between the both. I'm like, I want to see more, representation. I want to see more genuine, honest representation in whatever ways possible, and then just take that as a starting point and move ahead, where we can get to a place where these actors get the opportunities that they should. It's not just one overnight change or one binary change that we should be rooting at. So while you enjoy Shilpa, like Super Deluxe, while you enjoy Shilpa, just keep in mind that that should have had a trans actor in. So like work towards that. That's your end goal. As an audience, even as an audience, how many people have watched Maadathy, for example? Like even though doesn't have trans, it doesn't have a trans actor. Like did Peranbu get the reach that Super Deluxe did, even though it had a Mammootty? Those are the kind of, which is why I keep saying, I think this is actually BR's line. I think he said once where audiences should consider the tickets as votes. I think it makes a lot of sense. Support the kind of cinema, support the kind of makers who are making that change, who are doing that effort, to make this better. Because only if that becomes profitable, or at least fairly successful, will they get the mileage to go further. Otherwise, it will just be a discussion that will just keep happening in interviews or in chat rooms or in discussions, but we won't really see it happen in reality.
One thing which I wanted to kind of highlight was both the Chandigarh Kare Aashiqui Arkatum or with respect to Super Deluxe, right? I mean, like on one hand, yes, there is this real problem that you're robbing trans people of their livelihood, like in a sense, because that is the role which they can play better than probably anybody else, right? ஆனா வந்து ஒரு விதத்துல எனக்கு ரெண்டு படத்துலயுமே, but for varying degrees, that what I found a bit problematic was how right? So if you talk about Chandigarh Kare Aashiqui, how I mean, like the journey for the cishet male to learn about this, right? That is peppered with laughs, right? So and the scene first where you have the twins, his gym friends who talk about it, அவங்க வந்து பேசுறதே வந்து அது வந்து காமெடி பண்ற மாதிரி. அது வந்து it's one thing to show that as how the society responds to it, right? But one more thing showed in a way to mime laughs from an audience. எனக்கு என்னமோ வந்து எனக்கு அந்த சீன் பார்க்கும்போது எனக்கு வந்து அப்படிதான் தோணிச்சு அப்போ. I mean, why that is supposed to be the journey that he goes on, right? Ayushman Khurrana, right? So that is his journey. That's how he learns, which I'm fine with. Everybody has to have that arc. Ana ada kaamikumbodu, do you really put dialogues there in a way where you think the audience will laugh? எனக்கு என்னவோ அப்படிதான் தோணுச்சு. பிகாஸ் நான் குடும்பத்தோட பார்க்கும்போது அண்ட் வந்து ஒரு சில இடத்துல நிறைய வந்து சிரிப்பு வந்தது. அது வந்து ரைட்டா அண்ட் ஒரு இடத்துல என்ன அறியாமலே எனக்கு சிரிப்பு வந்தது. அப்புறம் தான் யோசிச்சேன், ஐ மீன் how did I react like this to this, right? So that was my conditioning. கொஞ்சம் தெரியாதவன் வந்து if his journey has to be shown, that should not have any moment of derision in it. எனக்கு சூப்பர் டீலக்ஸ்ல வந்து எனக்கு என்ன பிரச்சனை இருந்துச்சுன்னா வந்து கொஞ்சம் வந்து that it had a little too much focus on the trauma that she undergoes, like in the police station. எனக்கு வந்து அது வந்து அப்படி ஒரு மேக்னிஃபைங் கிளாஸோட காமிக்கணுமா, அது எனக்கு ரொம்ப ட்ரிகரிங்கா இருக்கிற மாதிரி எனக்கு, right? So that was the problem that I had with Super Deluxe. Apart from this, right? I mean, yeah, but Rasukkutti Shilpa was like out of the world, right? Beautiful. beautifully written segment, and that works excellently. In fact, that was the only segment which I thought just went very normally. The others felt like they had to be like teaching moments. Okay, I want to show the audience how a trans woman is treated. And I want to show it in the most graphic way possible. Right? The words used, the slurs used. எனக்கு வந்து அது வந்து எனக்கு ரொம்ப ப்ராப்ளமேட்டிக்கா பட்டுது எனக்கு. I mean, to now when I try to watch that movie, right, in Rasukuti segment மட்டும் தான் வந்து நான் பார்த்துட்டே இருப்பேன், திருப்பி பார்த்துட்டே இருப்பேன். அந்த scene where he knocks on the door, and it's just. ஆனா மத்ததெல்லாம் எனக்கு என்னமோ it's I mean very difficult for me to watch.
Yeah, I mean it's a thin line, to be honest. Chandigarh Aashiqui வந்து I'm not sure what was funny. உங்களுக்கு எந்த மூமெண்ட் ஃபன்னியா பட்டதுன்னு எனக்கு தெரியல. பட் எனக்கு வந்து அந்த ஃபிலிம் by and large seemed okay on representation, because representation na the character சொல்றேன், not in terms of the actor, but because we were not laughing at her at any point. The jokes, like that's something that I always keep in mind. Who are you laughing with them, or are you laughing at them? If you're laughing at them, then it's a serious problem. But if you're laughing with them, like for example, like take Goa for example. The Sampath and couple are there for humor. They make jokes. We laugh with them, but we don't laugh at them, right? Absolutely. So that is one thing that I always keep in mind when I watch films. Then because I believe that is how you know where that joke was, like who that joke is intended for, who is intended, and the who's taking the brunt of that joke. I mean, is someone being made a butt of the joke, or are we laughing with them? That is something that I always keep in mind. And Super Deluxe பொறுத்தவரைக்கும், yes, it was graphic, it was disturbing, but it's a debate or it's a question. நிறைய பேர் அது வந்து அந்த டிபேட் இன்னும் போய்கிட்டே இருக்கு. Like where do you draw the line between representing something and graphically representing something, so or glorifying something. Like அது வந்து it's still a debate போய்கிட்டு தான் இருக்கு. I don't know actually, because see எனக்கு how I see it is, at the end of the day, especially in terms of things like these, the more sensitive you are, the better it is. Like it shouldn't endல வந்து like take, because we spoke about Maadathy, just look at how she has treated the sexual violence scene in Maadathy, like the kind of shots she's used, the language she's used, that is taking away the voyeuristic part of it, but still keeping the pain and the trauma there. I think that's where we should be going, even on a normal note. I think a lot of people are doing that right now. I mean, a lot of people are trying to do that right now, where there was a time in Tamil cinema where rape scenes were kept because they were titillating. So we that is where we've come from. So ipo we're close and slowly moving towards the good side, where we're taking the voyeurism out of pain, we're taking the voyeurism, the titillating part out of it, and just presenting pain as it is. But we need more people doing that for sure.
Okay, I have exhausted my list of questions. It's been wonderful having you. Delightful conversation. Yeah. எப்படி வந்து என்னது, I mean, like how they say, right? I வந்து 5 rupees கொடுத்துட்டு 50 rupees ஆட் பண்ற மாதிரி,
500 ரூபாய்க்கு அடிச்சிட்டேனா
அந்த மாதிரி கேட்கல, அப்படியே வந்து ஒரு பம்பர் கிடைச்ச மாதிரி தான். அதனால thank you very much again. Yeah, I mean,
thanks a lot for having me, and I hope my answers made sense. I mean, those were really lovely questions, and I don't really get to discuss such intricacies very often. So thank you so much for having me, and hopefully my answers made sense.
Okay, thanks a lot, and have a lovely day, Asha.
Thank you so much. Bye.